Hello, and welcome back to the Patrick's Green Tea podcast. For this episode, I was contacted by a man named Aasmund Ryningen from Norway via my Instagram page, which is at Patrick's Green Tea podcast, for those of you who are curious. And he is a CBD oil email copywriter. He writes emails for businesses and helps them sell more of their products, businesses in the CBD oil sort of industry. And I thought that was perfect for the podcast, and I loved having him on. We ended up talking about, everything ranging from the effects and benefits of the substance to the hoops people have to go through to get it outside of the U.S. because, he's from Norway, and I didn't know this, but CBD and any THC product at all that has THC in it is illegal in Norway and Sweden, I think, and Denmark and all those countries. That people have to go to the Netherlands or other countries to get it who need it, and to bring it back, you have to get a special permit and everything, yada yada. But we talk about this in the episode. It's really interesting. His website is aarynningen.com/free. I believe it's the first two letters of his name plus his last name, A.A. Ryningen. And I love his last name. It's so fun to say. That's about it. I think the episode speaks for itself. The conversation was really, really insightful. I learned a lot about CBD. I didn't even know how little I knew about it. It's something that's really profound in the fact that it doesn't have any side effects that are really known about or that haven't come up, especially compared to pharmaceuticals that have known side effects that are really bad for you, that try to do the same thing that CBD does, which is alleviate pain mainly. But it has a lot of mental health benefits too. And yeah, so I hope you enjoy the conversation. So, I'm here with Aasmund, I can't pronounce your last name, Ryningen?
Ryningen. It's a Norwegian. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I thought it sounded very Nordic. That's pretty cool.
It's a very traditional name as well. I didn't expect you to be able to pronounce it also. I think you did a very good job right there.
All right, thank you. So you said that you wrote emails for CBD companies and CBD oil companies.
Yes.
I was curious, how did you get first introduced to CBD?
So this is a little bit weird because, like I said, I'm in Norway. And CBD oil isn't allowed in Norway. It's prohibited. You can't sell anything that contains THC at all. So it's literally banned. And there are loads and loads of different people with different diseases and joint inflammations, fibromyalgia, neuropathy, and so on. And there's actually quite a substantial amount of people who have some sort of a special license from the government to use CBD oil. But the thing is, they can't get it in Norway. They had to go abroad. So that kind of caught my attention. Why in the world are these people allowed to, be on drugs? Because I thought that CBD oil was some sort of a drug, or it is a drug, but I thought it was like the same thing as weed back when I first was introduced to CBD.
Yeah, but clearly it's not. And for someone who wouldn't really know about that, it's sort of tricky to understand that sort of nuance.
Yeah.
I think it has definitely a bad rep in a lot of countries.
Oh yeah, it for sure has, and it still has a very bad rep in Norway as well, because a lot of these people, let's call it the cannabis community, the Norwegian cannabis community, they lobby to the politicians, and they try to legalize cannabis, but they can't do it because the politicians insist that no, anything that contains THC levels above 0.0% is dangerous. Even though, clearly that's not the case. CBD oil has helped, change the life of so many people, especially in the United States and in a lot of other countries as well.
Right, yeah. My grandparents, who are sort of traditionally against cannabis in general, they don't use it at all. They love the benefits of CBD. And it's great to see that sort of in the United States, it's definitely sort of advertised, and you see it a lot in sort of tobacco shops and everything. It's just sort of in your face everywhere. So it's kind of
Yeah,
easier to get into it. But
yeah, yeah. And I think that's a great thing. I mean, I don't understand the stigma that CBD oil has earned because, or cannabis as a whole, because it has been used for so many years. It's been used actually for several thousands of years. It's not until I think it was in the early 20th century, no, 21st century, excuse me. No, the early 20th century that someone found out that cannabis was a thing that, hey, this thing looks like something that we should ban. And so they did. And so they prevented millions of people from curing their diseases and illnesses. And from there on, I guess it just snowballed. And now things have fortunately taken a turn for the better.
right. And now it's like you get CBD in sodas and CBD like candies and things that are
Yeah.
easily accessible. Like the one time I had CBD was in a soda, and it's like it's amazing that is sort of it's so easily marketable and so easily like infused and other things.
Yeah. And like you said, you have gummies, you have chocolate cakes, you have cookies, you have sodas, you have vaping, obviously, and CBD oil. I mean, it's just accessible in so many forms these days. So the whole thing that, oh, I don't want to take an oil, that's literally not an excuse, because you can just drink a soda or take eat a gummy bear, whatever.
Right. Also, like I didn't realize that you were in Norway until very recently. I heard
Okay.
the uh, the coronavirus sort of response in there has been a lot different than the rest of the world.
Yeah, maybe you're referring to Sweden because Norway has kind of like followed along with the EU regulations of closing everything down. But in Sweden, they've gone in a different route. They've actually maintained the society open as a whole,
Yeah.
or that is in Norway and in Denmark, in fact, as well. There is no lockdown. There is no, you can move freely. People won't, the police won't arrest you. You don't have to wear a mask. You can go out. You can go to the grocery store, and there are even cafes and restaurants that are still open, but they only allow so and so many people inside. And you have to maintain the social distancing, 2 meters or 6 foot from each other. But there are no pubs, no bars, no nightclubs. None of that stuff is open. No movie theaters, no concerts, no festival, no nothing. No big arrangements. So it's pretty dull up here, to say the least.
Oh. Yeah. I couldn't remember if it was Sweden or Norway, so I guess it is Sweden. It's but it's strange.
Same
Like,
countries.
exactly, because I always assume that like Norway and or the Scandinavia, I mean, always sort of stuck to the same policies as each other.
Yeah, and you're right about that. Traditionally, we have. So this is a very new thing. I don't know why they're doing this, because like traditionally speaking, Denmark has always kind of like led the way. It's always Denmark that initiates some sort of a new thing, and then Norway and Sweden follow suit, along with Finland also and Iceland. But in this case, I don't really know what the Swedes are up to this time, man. I
Yeah.
mean, they're doing something weird over there. But I don't know. I mean, they will always. I don't know if you know this, but Norwegians make jokes about Swedes, so, sort of the same way you guys over there make jokes about Canadians and so on. So, I already know.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So, also, I wanted to ask back to CBD.
Yeah.
Do you use CBD yourself?
I've tried it a couple of times, but unfortunately, I can't get it very easily. I have to go abroad. I have to go abroad to the Netherlands or to the United States, and I can't. If I wanted to bring it home to Norway, which I haven't done, by the way, then I'm smuggling because it's illegal to bring into Norway. So yeah, I've tried it, and I've I've appreciated a lot of the benefits. In fact, once I think it was a couple of years ago, I had this office job where I was sitting a lot. I was having a very sedentary lifestyle back then, didn't exercise much, and I got this neck pain. I don't know. Can you see my camera, by the way? Can you see
Yeah.
me? Yeah. So I got this shooting pain down in my neck on both sides that projected down to my back, and it was really awful. And I was confined to an office. I had to work an office job, and I was sitting in front of the computer all day long. And so that was just a horrible time for me. And if I'd had access to CBD oil back then, I would have definitely taken it, because I believe it would have cured me just right away, or just at least helped me relieve or ease the pain. But unfortunately, I couldn't get it back then, so I had to quit the job, and I had to do something else. So yeah, no, it has helped me immensely. That's what it has.
Is there any sort of momentum in the way of legalizing this stuff in Norway?
Yeah, there is. I mean, there is, like I said, a small movement. I think the total patient number, or the total number of patients in Norway that use CBD oil, I think it's less than 2,000 people. I mean, it's a really small amount, and they're constantly in touch with the politicians. They're constantly lobbying. They have their own Facebook communities, their own online communities. I also think that they have like these public gatherings. So there's definitely something going on. But the thing is, it's just such a small community, and people really don't know yet what CBD oil is. Because if you just mention CBD oil, people are going to go, what's CBD oil? It's cannabis. Oh, cannabis.
Yeah.
You mean weed? Then you have the whole thing going on. So yeah, there is a movement, but it's so small, and it's I'm afraid that they won't get anything done for the foreseeable future, sadly. But that's sort of a side mission I'm doing as well. I'm hoping to be a voice, so that I at least can spread the message, because I also believe that CBD oil can cure the life and help people improve their lives in so many areas, especially when it comes to joint inflammation problems and so on, fibromyalgia, neuropathy, and so on.
Yeah, it's definitely like even beyond the sort of like casual like intake of CBD that people are really excited about, and just like for relieving stress and things like that. It really has been shown to do much more than that.
Yeah.
It's sort of underestimated. And what other things can you speak to that it sort of does that no one really like sort of it isn't really talked about?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, I like to point out a couple of things. I mean, this probably doesn't apply to the industry as a whole, but I see a lot of different marketing techniques when it comes to CBD oil that I don't care so much about, because a lot of these vendors, a lot of these manufacturers of CBD oil, I honestly believe they have good intentions, and I honestly believe that they mean well, but they market their CBD oils from the totally wrong perspective, because they're talking about how it's organically grown, or how the strains are the finest strains in, I don't know, Napa Valley or Lake Tahoe or wherever, and that they're handpicked, and all of that stuff. And that might be good indeed. But if you have a joint problem, let's say that you have an inflammation in your shoulder, do you really care if the hemp oil that you're consuming is organically grown or not? Or do you care if it can actually help you relieve you of your pain?
Right.
So that's kind of like where I come in. That's sort of where I'm trying to make a difference by pointing out the actual pain, and how CBD oil can help people. Because I see a lot of these manufacturers and a lot of these brands, they talk first and foremost about the CBD oil, and that means that a lot of people sort of, they see CBD oil like this kind of a cool and trendy thing, when in reality is that it may alleviate you of your pain, especially the pain that's associated with fibromyalgia. That's sort of the main fibromyalgia and neuropathy. Those are sort of the main areas of focus or expertise, if you want to call it that I'm that I'm focusing on.
Okay. And what exactly is fibromyalgia? Because that's a term I'm not really familiar with.
Yeah. So fibromyalgia. By the way, I should say this, that I'm not a doctor, and this is certainly not medical advice. So if you are in doubt, you should definitely consult with a physician or a doctor. Just so no lawyers who are watching this are keen to sue me for spreading
Right.
wrongful information. Having said that, though, fibromyalgia is a condition where you just have constant pain, and it's just this shooting, sort of electrifying shock that goes around in your whole body, and especially your joints. Your joint areas are very prone to being painful. Like, for example, your shoulders, your neck, your hands, your arms, your wrists, your knees, and so on. And so it is this constant feeling of pain. It also causes dizziness. It also causes forgetfulness. And some people may, especially amongst elder people, a lot of people may think that they suffer from dementia or Alzheimer's, when in reality is they have this brain fog, or fibro fog, as it's called. And also, people who are, people who are overweight are unfortunately more prone to getting fibromyalgia. Now, I'm not saying that because you're fat, you're getting fibromyalgia. It's not that easy. It's way more complex than that. I'm just saying that a lot of people who have fibromyalgia tend to be overweight, and for some reason that we don't know exactly why yet, but the majority of people who have fibromyalgia are women,
Oh, wow.
more often than men. Yeah. And fibromyalgia can also cause insomnia and sleep apnea. And I said dizziness, didn't I? Yeah, dizziness. So it's this very uncomfortable, awful, horrible condition that I believe is largely underrated in terms of it's not being talked about enough, it's not being focused on enough, and people really don't know why some people get it. The medical community still don't know exactly how. No, excuse me, why some people get fibromyalgia and some don't. So that's another reason why I believe that CBD oil is so important to bring out to the people, to spread the message and to just show them that so many people benefit from CBD oil, especially those with fibromyalgia.
Right. You mentioned insomnia, that fibromyalgia can cause insomnia. And
Yeah.
it's sort of this idea among people who smoke cannabis, like the plant with THC, that they helps them with insomnia. Does CBD help with insomnia too?
Yeah, it does. Of course, I mean, your mileage may vary. Maybe it helps me more than it helps you. I mean, we're different people, and this is also something that I need to be honest about. I see a lot of shady marketing when it comes to CBD oil, and I see a lot of shady marketers that claim that, now with the whole coronavirus thing, oh, CBD oil can cure you for COVID-19, or CBD oil can cure you for coronavirus. No, it can't.
Right.
I mean, let's be real. It may relieve some of the pains that you get from COVID-19. I don't really know. I mean, I haven't had the COVID-19 disease yet, I think. So so I don't really know. But I do know that CBD can relieve you, and will relieve you in a lot of cases, for pain associated with, for example, that which you get from COVID-19. And well, back to your question about insomnia. Yes, CBD oil has helped a lot of people who suffer from insomnia, because it has this sort of relaxing feeling where you're not kind of like stressed out, because a lot of people who suffer from insomnia are stressed out over the fact that they can't sleep in themselves, right? So they lay down and they think, "Now I have to sleep, I have to focus, I have to sleep," which of course causes you not to sleep because you're so stressed. But CBD oil in a lot of cases takes away that stress momentum. It just soothes you and relaxes you. So that's one way where CBD oil helps with insomnia. But of course, it varies from person to person.
And this probably varies person to person too, but how long do the effects of CBD last from one intake?
So that of course depends on the intake itself. It depends on the dose. It depends on what you've eaten that day. It depends on what kind of beverages and foods that you had that day. It depends on a lot of different factors. But in general, what I've seen is that it lasts for at least 12 hours. That is a normal dose, or like I said, a teaspoon or a couple of teaspoons. Excuse me, tablespoons.
Well, huh.
So I just would like to point out that like I said, there are a lot of different factors that come into play, and just on the record saying that CBD dose lasts for, I don't know, 12 hours or 14 hours or 24 hours. It's really impossible to put it straight because there are so many factors that come into play. But having said that, though, 12 to 14 hours is what I've seen and what I've heard about the most.
It's a lot more than I was expecting. That's pretty
Yeah.
That's pretty good, actually, for something with so many benefits.
Yeah, it is. But you have to keep in mind one thing, though. There might be there might be the so-called placebo effect as well. I mean, this is only observations, so maybe that person who's taken CBD oil just feels like he's asleep, but the effects of the CBD oil really have vaporized or vanished. We don't really know that for sure. This is just observations. But like I said, having said that, though, 12 to 14 hours is what I've seen the most. So yeah, it definitely helps. I mean, it definitely can help if you're just willing to give it a try. And you should try it out more than a couple, one night. If it doesn't help after one night, then you should definitely try another and another. I mean, you got to give it some time. Also this is also how regular medication works. You have to give it time. CBD oil doesn't magically change things overnight. You have to apply time and you have to apply patience.
Is there, if you take it at a certain frequency, is there a tolerance that you build up?
I can't answer that for sure, other than what I've seen. And what I've seen is that, yes, there is a tolerance, but that tolerance is it's not so much what your body can handle. It's more how much CBD oil do I have to take, and how much does it really help me? I mean, let's say that I have a joint inflammation in my shoulder, and I take two tablespoons of CBD oil every day, and the joint inflammation goes away, and then I want to increase it, or it doesn't totally go away, but the pain gets manageable. I just feel a slight discomfort in it. But then I increase my dose, I double my dose up till 4 tablespoons a day. And nothing, things don't change. I mean, the pain is still there. It's still manageable. It's still just a slight discomfort, but it doesn't totally vanish. That's when I'm going back to 2 tablespoons a day, not because my body can't handle it, but because there's no gain in exchange for taking so much CBD oil, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah. Does it help with like athletes when they recover from injuries, or when they're after like workouts and they have that sort of pain?
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, I've Mike Tyson, the former heavyweight champion.
Yes.
He's actually got his own CBD oil brand. I wasn't aware of that until very recently, actually. So I haven't seen him on the record claim that that it helps for boxers, but I'm pretty sure that he knows a thing or two about boxing, right? And I'm pretty certain that he knows all the kind of different pains and issues that a lot of boxers and mixed and martial arts athletes have to go through. So I definitely believe that that it helps boxers. I've also seen, I forget her name, but there was a female U.S. soccer player. I can't exactly remember her name, but she played for the U.S. national soccer team, and she released her own CBD oil brand together with her sister, I think, or a friend or something like that. And she claimed that that CBD oil, helped her get through a lot of pain, a lot of injuries, a lot of tough days, and so on. So yeah, I'd definitely say that it helps athletes and people who are into sports.
What method would you recommend people use? Just straight up oil, or do you think gummies would have their own benefits?
No, I would recommend oil, and the reason for that is because I'm 100% biased, of course. I mean,
Right.
yeah, I mean, I've specialized in oil. I've specialized more in the medical treatment, more in the medical area. So I'm a CBD oil person. I won't lie. I mean, I'm sure that CBD oil or CBD gummies, CBD vaping, CBD sodas help, but in my opinion, oil has had the greatest impact what I've seen. But like I said, I'm biased, and I'm specialized in more of the medical treatment, especially amongst people who suffer from fibromyalgia and neuropathy and other kind of diseases and illnesses with a lot of joint pain and inflammation and so on.
Mhm. Also, is there any sort of opposition you've seen to CBD itself?
Yeah, I've seen that. This is actually quite funny because I'm by profession, I'm an engineer. I'm educated from a university, so I have a degree in engineering, in civil engineering. So I have a scientific background, and the opposition I see against CBD oil is from the so-called skeptic community, the people who claim that they need evidence, they need proof, they need documentation, they need this and they need that, and so on. And the majority of the opposition is that, oh, you don't have enough evidence to make claims that CBD oil can help other people. And part of it is true, but that's only true because CBD oil has been legalized recently, and there hasn't been enough studies conducted yet. But there are tens of thousands of testimonials, and I don't believe that people would sit there and cook up and forge, fake testimonials just to help the CBD oil industry.
Right.
I mean, why would you help another brand sell more of the product? I mean, let's be real here. So that is the opposition. That is sort of like the other team, so to speak, that I'm kind of like battling against. The skeptic community, the conventional medical community, of course, because they see that more and more people are choosing CBD oil over their traditional prescription and over the counter drugs. And yeah, that's sort of like the other guys that we're battling against.
So the conspiratorial minded would probably say that the companies like pharmaceuticals have a vested interest in opposing CBD and cannabis for their benefits, and and people replacing pharmaceutical medications with alternative sources.
Yeah, yeah, that is very true. And I think there is some truth to that, definitely, because let's say that I don't know, let's say that you're a big medical company, you're a big pharmaceutical company, and you sell a drug. Let's just call that drug, let's just call it A as in the letter A. So you sell this drug A, and all of a sudden CBDL comes and takes over the market. Of course, you're going to oppose and kind of like fight the other guy because he's stealing territory from you. He's stealing money from you. So,
Right.
Of course. And yeah, and by the way, this is also another reason why I think CBD oil, I think eventually will get legalized in Norway and in a lot of the other Nordic countries as well. But unfortunately, there's a lot of, I'm sure you've heard about the anti-5G movement by
Yes.
now. Yeah. A lot of these people are in Norway too, and a lot of these people claim that they use CBD oil instead of conventional medicine to treat, more serious diseases like, for example, cancer. So they actually go out there and say, no, don't use chemotherapy, don't listen to your doctor. If you have cancer, use CBD oil, which is, a terrible advice. Of course, you shouldn't do that.
Right.
I mean, if you have cancer, you need to go to the hospital and get chemotherapy and, whatever kind of drugs they're issuing you. I mean, let's be real here, because I I don't think, or I know, because I haven't seen it yet, I know that CBD oil can't cure cancer in itself, but it might help you relieve yourself of some of the pains that you're associating with cancer. It's that sort of middle ground where you have to stake out. But unfortunately, a lot of these conspiracy lunatics, they
Yeah.
they want to battle sort of the institution. They want to battle the establishment, and they claim ridiculous things like CBD oil can cure cancer and so on, which of course it can't.
Right. This is the first I've heard CBD oil as being part of this whole mess, and it just like makes me think of all the different sort of pseudo-scientific claims that people are trying to make to sort of bolster up this stuff and bring a bad name to it.
Yeah.
It's very unhelpful and unproductive.
Yeah, it is, and especially from the scientific community as well. Because here's the thing, though, I used to be one of these skeptics myself, and admittedly, I am a skeptic myself to this very day. But also I've realized that what about challenging your skepticism, and what about daring to look a little outside your look a little past your nose tip. I mean, nothing is just black and white here. You can test and you can see if something works, and just because it hasn't been officially accepted by the scientific community, that doesn't mean it doesn't work. I mean, you have to make progress, and that is where science is rooted. It's rooted in progress. But nowadays, unfortunately, we see it taking one step backwards in so many ways. It's just I personally don't like that, which is why I've sort of like, I don't know, joined the CBD movement, whatever you want to call it.
I think, like you said, it's been legal for such a short amount of time now that there isn't a lot of like really scientific rigor associated with it, and it is so important to get those tests done, which obviously they take a long time and it's hard to get sort of through the pipeline. But I think it'll just have to be something that gets better with time, that would just leave to improve, and there's not much we can really do about the lack of evidence right now. But I think that the testimonials and the sort of grassroots support behind it is what is going to make what is making it so popular. Just word of mouth, things like that.
Yeah, definitely. And that is why I think that we have a bright future ahead of us. We just need more time. We just need more testing, and we just need more willingness. But like with everything, the scientific investment, scientific research is depending upon funds, upon government funds, which in turn is based upon politics and so on. So it's all rooted in politics. It's all rooted in emotion, and we can only, keep on fighting, keep on convincing the politicians, keep convincing them to give us money to carry out the adequate scientific research that's required.
Right. Have you heard at all about like the Johns Hopkins studies with psilocybin mushrooms as well and I think they also have MDMA ecstasy studies coming out, very promising, showing potentially curing things like PTSD.
No, I have not. I've heard about the study, but I didn't know that they carried out on mushrooms. That's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Again,
Yeah, no,
it's a very
yeah.
field because it's all so it's very illegal in the United States, especially.
Right. Yeah.
So it's hard to get permits and all these to actually test. But when they do, they found very profound results, and very strict guidelines for the tests and the subjects they have. But it's been interesting. I highly recommend. It's Johns Hopkins has been the at the front of this, but I know that truffles are legal in the Netherlands, but I don't really hear any sort of medical research on them, which is kind of strange.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. You know, a lot of stuff is legal in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
which is why a lot of Norwegians go there to test out different stuff, especially, you know, including CBD oil. And I'm sure that they go there to test out these truffles as well. But like you said, there hasn't been a lot of scientific research carried out. I can't speak for mushrooms because I haven't invested so much time into the usage of mushrooms. But
Right.
I assume that it's again rooted in politics, unfortunately, because the big pharmaceutical companies, they have really close ties with the government, and they lobby their case, and they have a much better positioning instead of the mushroom community, or whatever you want to call it. So I think it boils down to a lack of money, a lack of funds, and a lack of support, really, because of the poor positioning and just the small size of the community compared to the big pharmaceutical companies.
Right. Now, I know you work in CBD oil and that sort of world. How much does that intersect with the cannabis industry?
So it does intersect a lot. I mean, you know, it's derived from the same plant. I mean, let's be real here. But it's developed into sort of its own thing. I mean, like I said, I focus more on the medical aspect of it. I'm not so much into vaping and, you know, smoke hemp to be cool and all of that stuff. That's really not my thing. What I do is I interact mostly with all of these hemp farms that produce legal cannabis, that have them lab tested and so on. And so it's I don't really see much of the cannabis industry as a whole. So I really can't speak much about it other than saying that there's a lot of shady stuff going on for sure. And I definitely think it needs to be regulated. And I definitely think that the 2018 State Farm Bill, it really helped clean up a lot of things, and it really helped kind of like put cannabis or CBD on the agenda as a very important means of cure, as a very important medical means. But like I said, I deal mostly with the quote unquote clean side of the whole cannabis industry.
Okay. So it's sort of like not existing independently, but it has its own sort of thing going on.
Yeah, it's I don't know how to word it, but it's sort of like its own community. It's sort of like its own sub community within the whole cannabis industry. I mean, the cannabis industry as a whole it's a very loosely defined term, because like you pointed out yourself, it's still very new, and we're still in that time where this is just what I've heard from my from my contacts over in the United States. But if you walk outside with a strain of CBD compared to marijuana, then unless you are very skilled and very trained, you just can't spot the difference. And so what that means is that a lot of cops, a lot of the police officers have started arresting people for drug possession, because they think they're about to smoke weed, but they're not. They're about to smoke hemp, which is legal.
Right.
And so it's a very evolving, it's a very expanding industry, and there's a lot of loose threads at the moment. And so I don't think it's fair to call the cannabis industry a community. It's more fair to label it sort of a movement that's unfolding, that's progressing, and where a lot of where a lot of things haven't kind of like been sorted out yet. So I'm sort of in one corner of the movement, and I don't know, the vaping guys, whatever you want to call them, they're in a different corner, and I'm sure you can make up the rest. And then you have obviously the illegal side with the whole weed industry and so on. So yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done, but if you ask me personally, I'm optimistic. I believe that we're really on to something.
Yeah. So I was on vacation in Florida, I think last year or the year before, and in one of the like merch shops, they had like glass bongs and pipes, and they had shirts everywhere. And then in one little jar, they had this thing that looked like cannabis or like marijuana, but they told me it was CBD flower. Is that what it was, or was it just hemp?
I think it was. It could have been both, really, because again, you have to be very skilled. You have to. I personally can't spot the difference. There are very few people who can, and really, you have to test it to see. You have to test it for THC levels and so on. But if the owner claimed that it was, what did the owner say it was? Did he say it was hemp, or did he say it was CBD?
They said CBD flower was the term.
Right. Yeah. Now, yeah. Well, then it obviously was CBD. Now, again, with regards to the terminology, there are a lot of floating expressions. Some say hemp, some say CBD. What I've learned is that marijuana, that's sort of the illegal version.
Right.
That's derived from the cannabis plant with THC values above 0.5, 0.3, I think it is 0.3% of THC. And the other version is sort of like hemp or CBD, whereas CBD is more like the medical variant. But that's what I have learned. Maybe you have learned something else. I mean, it just goes to show you that the terminology is a bit diffuse. Words are interchangeable, and it's still a very loosely defined term, the whole cannabis industry. And so we just need to give it more time, and we just need to give it more time to unfold and to progress and to kind of like see where things are going.
Yeah. So you said that you were against, or not, maybe not against, so you were just sort of like opposed in whatever fashion to vaping and smoking.
I'm not opposed personally. I just haven't chosen to invest any time in it. But I'll admit on the record, I haven't smoked hemp at all. I haven't smoked weed obviously either. So it's a world that's totally unknown to me. When I say opposed, I didn't mean like personally opposed. I meant I hadn't invested any considerable time investigating or researching what it was. But I'm sure it's great for those who use it.
Okay, right. I was just going to ask about if the effects or if they had any differences to ingesting oil, but I guess you didn't. You don't really know about the.
No, I don't really know. I mean, obviously I follow the industry, so I see more of I see what they're doing, but it would appear to me that the majority of people, at least from what I've seen, most of them actually struggle with anxiety and depression issues and so on. More kind of like the psychological issues, and so hemp really. Vaping and smoking hemp and so on really helps them relax without breaking the law, without smoking weed. And it supposedly doesn't make them addictive as weed can do. So, but that's really not my area of expertise. I don't really know. So I guess what works for them works for them. That's pretty much everything I can say on that issue.
But the oil does help with mental sort of.
It does. It does. Again, like I said, I haven't personally focused on that area of all, but I follow it. A lot of people claim that they've eased their depression issues by using CBD oil, and as well as their anxiety. And I think it's also worth mentioning that a lot of these people who have suffered from anxiety and depression and so on, a lot of them, when they first start taking CBD, they also change other aspects of their lives. Like they're changing their lifestyle. Maybe they're quitting their job. Maybe they're changing their diet. Maybe they start a new workout regimen. Maybe they even move somewhere else or move out from their family or spouses and so on. What I'm trying to say is a lot of people, from what I've seen, who take CBD for their depression and anxiety issues, they do more than just take the oil. They actually make other significant changes to their lives. So the oil in and of itself, from what I've seen, is that it has this kind of a calming effect, sort of like the same effect that it has on people who have insomnia. But also, I think that the very notion, the very idea that they're actually making these changes to their lives really helps them. So I'm kind of like regarding the CBD oil in that way as sort of a booster or an accelerator, if you know what I mean.
Right. And I think it's really important to not hinge all of your potential on a substance and really use it as a diving board, as sort of like something
Yes.
to push.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you're depressed and you take CBD oil and you continue sitting in front of your television watching Netflix and feasting on Cheetos, and you're living in your mom's basement and you're 40 years old and you're a virgin, I mean, then not much is going to change, is it? I mean, you have to, like you said, you can't rely solely on one substance. You have to put in the work yourself.
Right.
I think, and I also hope that a lot of scientific research can prove that point. That CBD oil indeed has many, properties. It will help you for a lot, but it doesn't help you exclusively alone. That being said, there are stories of people who, magically have had their pain issues gone away in seconds, or so they claim, after taking CBD oil. But in most cases, you have to put in an effort yourself. And that is where also I've seen a lot of shady marketing. Like people go, oh, if you have cancer, then take CBD oil. If you have coronavirus, take CBD oil. If you have joint inflammation, take CBD oil. I mean, let's be real here. You have to do some of the work yourself.
Have there been any strange quirks or anything like negative that you've seen out of CBD oil?
No, not really. I mean, I haven't seen anything related to side effects. I haven't seen anything related to addiction. I haven't seen anything. The only negative thing that I've seen is that the taste is horrible, which I can can verify. It does not taste good. So a lot of people wash it down with, I don't know, orange juice or a soda or cranberry juice, whatever. But aside from that, no, I haven't seen any negative stuff other than other than the taste.
That's pretty amazing, man.
Yeah, it is. It is, isn't it? I mean, yeah, the no blurry vision, no headache, no stomachache, no nothing, no vomiting, no this, no that. But like I said, you have to do more research. What I am saying here is what I've seen. I'm basing my views exclusively from testimonials, from reviews, from people's personal stories, and so on.
Right.
So I definitely think that there needs to be more research carried out. But no, there doesn't appear to be any, severe side effects or disadvantages by using CBD oil.
And because it doesn't get you high, you're able to function normally, right? And drive and do everything you have to do.
Exactly. Compare that to alcohol, for example. At one point I worked in construction, and I don't know how things are over in the US, but I assume that they're somewhat, you have a typical blue collar environment where it's common to drink a lot, especially on Saturdays and so on, go out for the weekend and go to the bar and so on. And a lot of these people would drink, to ease or to relieve their pain. Maybe they work, they drop a concrete block on their foot, and they would drink to relieve their pain, and and then they had to drive home drunk.
Yeah.
I mean, compare that to taking CBD oil. You don't get high from CBD oil.
I think, like, in a society where all you have basically is alcohol, like that's what people use, and it's just so. I think like now that we have these options springing up, it's amazing. I'm really optimistic about the future.
Yeah, me too. I mean, if anything, it might cut down the drug abuse, the alcohol abuse.
Yeah.
A lot of people smoke weed because they think it's cool and so on. Even if it just helps people, off the weed and that they start smoking hemp, that would have been a small victory. But and also all of those poor people who suffer from fibromyalgia and various other chronic pain issues. I mean, some of them have suffered from fibromyalgia and have had pains for more than 20 years. Actually, there was one person who had pains for 30 years. Would you imagine that? It's just mind blowing.
It's making me want to try out CBD in sort of like all its forms and just see the benefits of it for myself and have my sort of like testimonial. I think,
Yeah.
like there's no reason why I haven't. I never like thought anything of it. But I think now, I don't know. It'll be interesting to try at least, especially because
Yeah.
of adverse side effects.
Yeah. You should definitely do that. I mean, there's no reason not to do it. I mean, if you're a normally healthy person and you don't have any pain issues, you don't suffer from any depression, if there's nothing wrong with you, even then I personally haven't seen cases of people who are damaging themselves, because a lot of times if you take conventional drugs and you're healthy, that may lead to serious side effects, right? But I haven't seen that case with CBD oil. So what I've seen is that you can take CBD oil and be perfectly healthy and still don't suffer from any side effects.
Right. For someone who doesn't, like you said, doesn't have any pain, doesn't have any problems that they need to actually help, what would you sort of say is a result of CBD that is sort of attractive to someone like that?
So I'd say this. Obviously, I can't lie. I can't trick you into or con you into buying. I can just say this. There will come a time in your life where you will suffer pain one way or the other. Like I said, I had that sedentary job where I sat in front of the computer all day long, and I had this shooting pain down my neck. If I'd had CBD oil at that time, I would have taken it in an instant. And there will come a time in your life where you will need some sort of pain relief, some sort of painkiller. I guarantee you. Unless you spend your whole life sleeping inside your bedroom, it's just bound to happen.
Right.
So if you don't need it now, I can assure you you will need it sometime in the future. That I can 100% guarantee you, absolutely.
That's great advice. So what would you say to someone who is sort of wary to CBD because either they don't like the whole idea of cannabis, or just someone who doesn't know anything about CBD? What would you say?
Yeah, I'll just say that I totally understand you, because CBD oil is associated with cannabis and is associated with weed. But cannabis oil is actually safe. It is healthy. You won't get high from it. You won't get addicted. It won't damage your body. It will only help your body.
I think that's a pretty good note to end on.
Yeah.
CBD is just, well, I definitely want to look more into it. It's
yes, you definitely should.
Yeah. I definitely want to, for people I know who are in pain, for whatever reason, I think it would be a great addition to their lives.
Yeah, it definitely will. And you guys are so lucky there over there in the United States. You can just purchase CBD oil. I mean, we have to go abroad to a different country, and even then we have to smuggle it into our own country to actually use it, unless we get a special permit. I mean, it's
Right.
just ridiculous.
Do you guys
So
have
you
medical?
guys are lucky. Excuse me?
Do you guys have medical, any sort of medical marijuana, medical CBD options there?
No, we don't. I mean, that's what you need. That's what you need the special permit for, because you can't legally buy medical cannabis in Norway in and of itself. You need to go abroad. But in order to bring back home that medical cannabis, you need that special permit, or customs are gonna confiscate the stuff, and they're gonna charge you with smuggling, with drug smuggling.
Right. You wouldn't want that.
So, no, it's pretty insane.
Yeah. That's a pretty serious charge too, and to
Yeah,
have
it is.
someone who's just trying to fix their pain be faced with that, just horrible.
Yeah, and they're being accused of drug smuggling.
Yeah.
It's just mind blowing.
All right. So, Aasmund, thank you for coming onto the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and good luck with your show in the future.
All right. Thank you so much, and good luck to you in your CBD oil endeavors.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Good talking to you.
Yeah, you too.
Hello. Thanks for listening to the podcast. You can find me at PatricksGreenTea on Patreon, Discord, Spotify, YouTube, Twitch, and Bandcamp. Patrick's Green Tea Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher, and Instagram. At PatrickGreenTea without an S on Twitter. Supplemental materials like photos and text are available on our website, PatricksGreenTea.com. You can join our subreddit at r/PatricksGreenTea. You can make comments on YouTube and on the website, and you can contact me directly at patricksgreentea@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and have a lovely day.